Now, I don't even remember how I started off this video. Welcome back, y'all. My name is Darmal. I am a third-year medical student now. I have just completed my Step 1 exam. Stay tuned for that video. Some tips and tricks to learn from my mistakes and do good and stuff. So, imagine this scenario. You just got accepted into SGU medical school, or any medical school for that matter. You can now breathe and take your first breath of relief and enjoy the feeling of finally being accepted by your parents. And then boom, anxiety. Bunch of questions start rambling up in here, and all rational questions, I might add. Am I smart enough to get through medical school? Am I prepared enough? Have I been stupid this whole time and didn't know it and got through undergrad somehow? What if I fall behind? What if I fail out? All reasonable questions, concerns, and another word for concerns. A question that I've been receiving multiple times from multiple students who just got accepted into SGU is, how do I prepare for my first day of medical school? And hence this video. Number one, I want to tell you the background of my background. I was an undergrad anthropology major. I know. By that, you should be able to tell that my background in sciences were not very strong. I did not take a biochemistry, a plant biology class. I'm telling you my background because I'm trying to illustrate the point that if you've been away from school for a long time, or haven't really been studying science or any science subject for a long time, or just your background isn't that strong in sciences, I'm telling you that that is okay. That is the situation I'm in, and I'm no super genius or anything like that. I'm just a pretty decent average student, actually. You know, I work extremely hard for every grade that I get. I'm no super genius. If you want to go follow that type of person, go right ahead. My goal is to kind of reach out to the normal student and the normies, like you and I. I'll go back into that, but basically you will find your rhythm, you'll find your groove. Have faith in that whole process and have faith in your own capabilities, because it will come. I was full of self-doubt throughout my whole first term, especially my first two tests. I was just constantly, you're your own worst critic. So, and I was like a walking example of that. And I was just like, oh no, I'm not really good in sciences, so please forgive me. I may not know this. I can't answer your question. I'm sorry. I can't help you. Stuff like that. That was a very far tangent, but I digest. The whole point of that was to tell you, if you have zero background in sciences, you will still be fine. You just require it is needed and fully required, in my opinion, that you apply yourself 100%, you put in the work, you are able to be flexible with the way you study, you're just able to like read and repeat, rinse, wash, and repeat. Let's read, and stick to the slide. Just be able to kind of learn quickly because of the amount of information and the speed they give it to you. You'll be fine. That's exactly where I was, but it's definitely manageable. It's hard, definitely hard, don't get me wrong, but manageable. The main question here is, how do I prepare for my first day of medical school? I will tell you right now that I did not do anything for preparation for my first day of medical school, right? I even had a friend send me all the slides for the first couple weeks, didn't even open it. I feel terrible for making him do that. Something my friend told me, and it basically holds true. A lot of people say this. You don't really know what you're getting into until you actually get into medical school. As hard of a concept that is to wrap your mind around, that's still very true. Medical school has a good way, SGU, and I'm sure every other medical school has a good way of ramping you up to the speed. It like acclimates you to the speed, to the amount, and to the complexiveness. So you have a lot of time to be, kind of like just nudged into the deep end. So don't panic, don't add on extra unnecessary stress, and take this time to enjoy being around your family, who you will be away from for a couple months at a time. But if you're not going to take my advice and still ask, how do I prepare for my first day of medical school, then the rest of the video is for you. Hence the title of this video, Tips and Tricks to Prepare Yourself for Your First Day in Medical School. That is resources, things you should be looking at, books you should be reading, YouTube videos you should be watching, and all the concepts and subjects that you'll be tested on your first exam in term 1. We're going to start off running. I'll place them here now. Generalized eukaryotic cell and intracellular compartments of cells. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. All that good stuff. All the compartments that go inside a cell and all the basics. One side note, the stronger your basics are, of like the absolute basics, page 1 type of biochemistry, biology, biosciences, the better things will be later on. I still remember in my step 1 dedicated studying time, I was getting questions wrong just on the most basic things about like what's inside a cell. The more you strengthen that foundation now, the better you will be further on in the future. Next, lipids and cholesterol. That sucked. We used YouTube videos, tonicity and osmolarity or osmolality. That is the only one you're going to be kind of, doing calculations for. It's simple as soon as you get the trick. It's confusing at first. Don't ever think that anything I say is easy or anything like that, because that's totally unfair. Everything is hard, everything is complex, and everybody has struggles at different points. I struggle at everything though. Cell membrane and cellular transport, like how it goes from the nucleus to the cytoplasm to the cell membrane. Cell division and cell death, cell cycle, action potentials, DNA replication. Man, these questions were the worst. I was still getting them wrong on dedicated studying time. These were the worst. It was the most frustrating thing. So just know those really well, like helicase, primase, the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes with these things, and DNA polymerase 1 and 3 and stuff like that, right? Just know those well, so you'll be saving yourself a headache in the future. Within this first few weeks of your medical school, you'll be entering your first histology class. And I remember when it was about my second week, I think, of medical school, I literally had to Google, what is histology, into my phone before the class started, because I had no idea what the hell that was. I literally thought it was like history of medicine. So that should tell you where my starting point was. I was that person. Your first histology class, which if you didn't know, it is like the epithelium. And it's pictures. You're basically looking at microscopic pictures and different types of staining. And so you're looking at structural components of a cell and organisms and stuff. Cell junctions. So tight junctions, gap junctions, how cells communicate with one another. Transcription and translation, like the central dogma of replication. Genetics. Oh man, I'm telling you right now, genetics was the worst subject for me in college and for MCAT. I hated it. Every single question on MCAT that came up that was a Punnett square or genetic family tree, whatever, I automatic guess and move on. For genetics, I was actually very grateful because the teacher is young, live. His name is Professor Gosling? No, that's Ryan Gosling. Sterling? No. It's Sobering. Yeah, Professor Sobering. He's like a cool, energetic, spastic dude, and it's nice to have somebody who kind of tries his best to keep the crowd, the students, alive and awake. So that went from being one of my worst subjects to just kind of doing pretty decent. I think I got it like a B plus in that subject breakdown. So that was a big surprise. He has this 2-hour video that just breaks down everything you need to know for genetics and all the type of questions you'll be getting, because genetics is not just straightforward. There are different types of like modes of inheritance. There's family tree questions, there's Punnett square questions, there's different methods for autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked recessive, X-linked dominant, mitochondrial inheritance, all that stuff. So different modes of inheritance. This 2-hour video was awesome. It broke down everything you needed to know in one single thought, like one single sit-down study session, and I found that very helpful. And I'm sure you'll be hearing the buzz about it in your classroom, so just make sure you be on the lookout for that. And if not, you could always reach out to me. I still have a link for that lecture. And with those genetic diseases, you're going to have a way to diagnose them. So the next subject that was probably in the last week, right before the test, that they gave us was laboratory testing, right? So PCR, fish, microarrays, and chip, really scientific laboratory techniques to kind of diagnose these diseases for sure. And then lastly, purine and pyrimidine metabolism and pathways and synthesis and degradation, all that stuff, and recycling. That's everything that I compiled after going through my notes, seeing what was important and what was not. These are just like the most basic subject lines, so you could just kind of Google them. You could YouTube them. Now you're asking, I have my subjects, where do I go from here? What should I look at? Number one, don't pull up a college book and try to read the whole chapter on whatever I just gave you, right? Because you haven't started school yet. Best thing for you is to get a copy, like a PDF copy. It's found everywhere online. 2019 First Aid, Step 1 USMLE 1, 2019. Where do you look? The first chapter in this book, boom, right here, biochemistry, right? If you see all the subjects I've given you, they're all basically within this first chapter. Purine salvage deficiencies are like purine salvage pathways and synthesis. What I recommend is that you go through this book, you read it. You don't need to know this faithfully yet, especially in your first term. One thing you need to know, in your first term, your focus shouldn't be the step 1 book. Your focus should be the lecture slides. If you find any inconsistencies with the slides versus something you find online versus something you find in the first aid book, always stick with the slides. The slides are always correct. They're the things that you'll be tested on, and that's where the teachers and professors will get their information from. Anyways, yeah, see this stuff. Oh, I hated this. It's like, it's straightforward, but I hated it. You use this book. Mom, turn off the laundry! Mom! Mom! I'm recording! Mommy! Mom! Mom! Alright. Use this book as your boundaries. Take those subjects, find them in here, read that page. Even if they do or they do not make sense, go find that subject on YouTube and just watch whatever you can about it. Don't take it too seriously. Seeing these words alone and these concepts and these pathways will only help you become more familiar, so that when it comes time for that first week or the first 2 weeks and these concepts are being thrown at you left and right, it'll be kind of your second time going over the material and you'll be a little bit more familiar with what is going on. About YouTube, just find a few people that you really like. Oh, for example, there's a guy named Clark McCollin. When I was a first termer, he was a fifth termer. I was lucky enough to get into one of his DES lectures, and man, it was one of the most complicated lectures for me. This guy was explaining it with so much like passion and understanding and just mastery of the material that it felt like he was telling a story to his grandchildren. I've never been so impressed or captivated by someone before in my life. I was just in awe. It was awesome just being taught by him. He has a YouTube channel. It should be Clark McCollin. And what you need to do, no matter what term you're in, you look up his channel, and he should have all his videos in the playlist section, all his videos categorized by term. And you make sure that none of the videos, or if there's any videos that are related to what you're learning, you watch those. Because Clark has a way of, he puts in a lot of work in his videos, and he makes sure to explain everything fully and completely. And he has a talent for staying true to what SGU likes to focus on. I remember one time, it was my second term, I never really went into a test thinking that I'm straight up going to fail. The morning of the exam, I woke up at 4 o'clock. I watched, it was about the cranial nerves in the head, and it just gets so crazy when it gets to cranial nerve 7 and 5. No, yeah, 7 and 10. 7 and 5, I don't know, 5, 7, 10, all that stuff, 8. I watched, it was a 50-minute video, I watched it twice, and that dude literally saved my life for that exam. Light bulbs going off all within a span of 2 hours. And just make sure any video you watch, whether it's Clark's, mine, or any other medical school related video, just always 1.5 the speed. You could do it by pressing shift and period at the same time. So hold shift and press period, and then you could press comma to go backwards, go back to normal speeds. Sean Darmal, Clark McCollin. Armando Hasaragan, he's that dude who kind of draws everything out on a whiteboard. He dubs over it, condensed notes, kind of like a time lapse, and it's really good to get the bigger picture of things. Anyways, that's all I have for you. Nothing will prepare you for your first term of medical school. You just kind of have to be thrown in the deep end and figure your way through it. But the least you could do is ease the pain, right, when those first couple weeks start. And trust me, guys, this is coming from a very sincere side. I always downplayed my capabilities. And in a way, that's completely fine. If you are doubting yourself, if you are like I was, if you're doubting yourself and your capabilities, that is completely normal. You're not human if you don't even doubt yourself. But, don't put yourself down too hard. Learn from my mistakes. If you're scared about falling behind or failing out, that's completely normal. I hope this helps. And good luck. My name is Sean Darmal. Like, comment, subscribe, notify yourself with the bell thing. If you like my videos and you want to see more of it. I don't have a catchy signing out phrase, so bye.
What's up, bro? What's up, cousin?